Time is the biggest killer of all. It also doesn't help though when there's a possession involved. Here are the top 5 places lost to time that are possessed. Number 5 on this list is Troy. Troy is one of the most famous cities ever to go missing. It's actually kind of crazy how Troy just seemed to vanish off of the surface of the earth, considering how much stuff went down there. Maybe the paranormal presence played into it though. The National Geographic says Heinrich Schliemann, the German archaeologist, was in Turkey in the late 19th century on an eccentric quest. He was excavating a Tellin artificial mound that covers long abandoned settlements. The site, known as Hisarlik, was familiar to only a few specialists, but as Schliemann dug, he was pinning his hopes on finding the ruins of the most famous city in classical literature, Troy. The trouble was that Troy might not have even existed. The acclaimed Greek poet Homer popularized the Trojans and their city in the Iliad and the Odyssey, his 8th century BC epic poems. These works told the story of a 10-year war between Greece and Troy, fought by such timeless characters as the kings of Priam and Agamemnon, the warriors brave Hector and mighty Achilles. The poems tell of bloody battles, fantastic adventures, heroic deeds, and tragic consequences. But was Troy a real place? Schliemann set out to prove it was, and he did. Hisarlik is now widely accepted as the setting for Homer's epic tales. Studies have revealed that the 30-meter, 100-foot-tall mound contains not just 1 but 9 Troys, each built over the ruins of the one before. Today, archaeologists consider Troy the 6th counting from the bottom up to be the likeliest candidate for Homer's Troy. This city dates from around 1700 to 1250 BC, and its citizens lived in dynamic times. If you've read even the tiniest bit of Homer's epic poems or seen the movie adaptation with Brad Pitt in it, then you know that these battles were bloody ones. People died here at Troy. Like, lots of people. This death and sorrow and all of the tragedy that befell these people has certainly left behind a dark mark. Now, many people believe that these ruins are possessed by some evil and ancient spirits. The spirits of these fallen Trojan soldiers, the ones that were betrayed by the infamous Trojan horse. There is some incredible history here, and I certainly wouldn't want to tell you not to go and see it, but just be wary if you do. Number 4 on this list is Chernobyl. This one wasn't necessarily lost to time, but mainly human error. Now if you go there though, the entire place looks completely sucked of all of its life, and frankly, it looks possessed. Specifically, the city of Pripyat is the one that got it the worst. Back in the 80s, the Chernobyl power plant went wrong and everything got destroyed. The initial explosion was bad and killed a decent amount of people, but the big problem was the radiation. The radiation was nothing like we'd ever seen before. It's more than 30 years after the initial disaster and people still can't even go here for extended periods of time. The insane amount of death that took place here and the crippling impact that time has had on this place has left a lot of people believing that it's possessed. In fact, people have even taken it a step further, and some think that this could be a hiding place for the devil. Perhaps the devil was even the cause of the initial disaster in the first place, got everyone out of here, and has now claimed it as his evil lair. This is accompanied by rumors of demonic beasts running rampant throughout the area. Some people who have been brave enough to trek through here after the accident have reported seeing creatures that are unlike anything we know of. These things, whatever they are, could be servants of the devil or could be caused by the insane amount of radiation that's around this area. Radiation has been known to cause mutations, and it wouldn't be surprising if some of the animals here have mutated in some capacity. I think it's safe to say that this place is at least possessed by death, so I'd stay away if I was you. Number 3 on this list is Memphis. No, I am not referring to the United States Memphis. This Memphis is located in Egypt. The National Geographic says, Memphis, founded around 3100 BC, is the legendary city of Mins, the king who united Upper and Lower Egypt. Early on, Memphis was more likely a fortress from which Menes controlled the land and water routes between Upper Egypt and the Delta. By the 3rd 3rd dynasty, Saqqara had become a sizable city. It fell successively to Nubia, Assyria, Persia, and Macedonia under Alexander the Great. Its importance as a religious center was undermined by the rise of Christianity and then of Islam. It was abandoned after the Muslim conquest of Egypt in 640 AD. Its ruins include the Great Temple of Ptah, royal palaces, and a colossal statue of Ramses II. Nearby are the pyramids of Saqqara. So clearly there has been a lot of important Egyptian and honestly world history that went on here. So why did it eventually get forgotten about? Well, lots of people have pointed to a possession of some kind. Some people have theorized that prior to Alexander the Great taking it over, the previous rulers put a curse upon the city if it fell to another ruler. Poor crop yields and just overall bad luck would come to the new rulers of this land, and eventually they'd have to leave the city. Whether this is true or not, we're never gonna really know, but some people who have visited the ruins have spoken about the paranormal presence that they felt. Many of them have reported something just feeling off. They haven't been able to necessarily put their finger on it, but it's as if some sort of presence is constantly watching them. Maybe this place is actually possessed. Number 2 on this list is the SS Ayrfield. This is one of the most interesting and creepy stories I've ever heard, honestly. Interesting Engineering says Homebush Bay used to be home to various shipbreaking operations during the mid-20th century. Various wrecked hulls remain in the area, including the most famous of them, the SS Ayrfield. The ship was built and launched from the UK in 1911 and later registered as SS Ayrfield in Australia in 1912 as a steam collier. It transported supplies during World War II and returned to service as a steam collier post-war until it was decommissioned in 1972. Most of its superstructure was reclaimed and scrapped during the 1970s, but shipbreaking operations ceased in the same decade, leaving the hull to float ominously in the bay. Nature has since reclaimed the ship, creating an amazingly beautiful yet creepy abandoned shipwreck. So now we just have this super creepy boat floating around with no one manning it or doing anything. Tons of people have speculated throughout the years that there is some type of ghostly presence that lives here now. That throughout the time that this ship has been abandoned and left to rot, a spirit of some type has come and taken over the ship, and now we're not going to be getting it back anytime soon. I'm kind of cool with that, honestly. As long as the spirit minds its business and we don't bother it, kind of cool having a floating ghost ship, you know? Number 1 on this list is the Pacific Submarine Fleet. This is a submarine base located in Russia that was actually initially supposed to be for nukes. Interesting Engineering says the Pavlovsk Soviet-era nuclear submarine base was built between the 1960s, was abandoned and left unfinished in the 1980s. It's thought to have been built to serve as a nuclear bunker to protect the Soviet Union's precious nuclear submarines. The base features 2 large tunnels to house submarines with a maze of much smaller ones for personnel. Today, it still remains abandoned and can often be found with frozen water in the submarine docking areas. This place is super creepy apparently, and a lot of people have talked about those smaller tunnels having something in there that you wouldn't want to run into. It just feels fitting though that an abandoned base in Russia, like fully in the middle of nowhere, would have something evil about it. No one knows exactly what is possessing this space, but they're pretty sure that something is there for sure. There have even been rumors of some people going to investigate this place a few decades ago and never returning. But there you have it, guys. That is our list of the top 5 places lost to time that are possessed. Please let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this list and some other scary places that you know about that could be possessed. Also, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Nicholas Playlog, and I'll catch you next time.